Watching animals being born is always amazing for a rancher. But what happened on a cold April morning in 2024 would completely change what Mark and Aaron Van Heestert knew about cows. Their ranch covered 300 acres near Bjorkdale, Saskatchewan, and had been their life's dream since 2000. It sat 24 miles south of Tisdale and was home to 300 cows, each one well known to Mark's trained eyes. He could tell when a cow was sick from far away, guess when calves would be born with amazing accuracy, and had helped deliver hundreds of baby cows over the years. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for April 19th. The morning brought a surprise late snowstorm. In the barn, Mark saw something strange about their grumpy 8-year-old Charolais Simmental mix. A cow so mean the workers called her that awful cow. But she had one amazing ability. She'd had twins 3 times before, something that happens in less than 1% of cow births. "I have a hunch about that grumpy old girl," Mark told Aaron over coffee, watching snow build up outside. "She looks bigger than normal." "Are you really making another guess?" Aaron laughed. "Last time you were so sure, you cleaned stalls for a month." Mark's eyes sparkled with playfulness. 6 miles of fence fixing. I bet she's carrying more than one baby." "You're pretty sure for a man talking about a cow with no name," Aaron said, shaking his hand anyway. "Deal. But when I win, you're fixing that fence in spring mud." At exactly 10 a.m., Aaron wrapped up against the harsh snow for her usual herd check. The wind was screaming across the prairie, and she was worried about making sure all their pregnant cows were safe and warm. What she discovered when she got to the back pen made her freeze completely. "Mark!" she yelled across the yard, her voice almost lost in the wind. "Mark, get out here right now!" Mark dropped his coffee cup and rushed outside, his heart racing. He found Aaron standing still in the snow, staring at something impossible. There, pressed against their bad-tempered cow, were 2 tiny calves. Both were clearly born too early, weighing maybe 50 pounds each instead of the normal 75. Their small bodies were steaming in the cold air, their wet fur already catching snowflakes. "They're so little," Aaron whispered, her voice full of worry. "Mark, they're going to freeze to death out here." "Get the sled," Mark said urgently. "We need to get them into the heated barn right away." As Aaron ran toward the tool shed, Mark kneeled down next to the nameless cow. She looked tired but awake, rubbing her babies with clear love. "Well, old girl," he said quietly, "you've definitely earned yourself a name today." When Aaron came back with the sled 15 minutes later, she found Mark hunched over not 2 calves but 3. "There's another one," she gasped, pointing at the newest baby. A third tiny female, just like her sisters, was trying to stand on shaky legs.
Mark carefully looked over the 3rd calf, checking her breathing and alertness. "She's weak, but she's alive," he said. 3 calves. I can't believe it." They worked fast to put all 3 babies onto the sled, covering them in every blanket they could find.
"I guess we both lost that bet," Aaron said breathlessly as they hurried toward the barn. 3 calves means nobody was right. Mark was about to agree when something made him stop. He looked back at the cow, who was still lying in the snow, her sides moving hard from exhaustion. "Something's wrong," he said quietly. "She's still pushing." They got the 3 calves comfortable under heat lamps in the barn. Then Mark went back to get their mother. What he found there would stay in his dreams and fill his heart for the rest of his life. A 4th calf lay in the snow next to the cow, tiny but very much alive. "Aaron!" he shouted, his voice breaking with feeling. "There's a 4th one." When Aaron came running, she found Mark kneeling in the snow, holding a fourth identical female calf. 4 calves, 4 living, breathing, moving miracles. The impossible odds of what they were seeing hit them like a punch. 1 in 11.2 million. Those were the chances of 4 calves being born alive to 1 cow. "We need help," Mark said, his voice trembling. "We need help right now." Their 3 children, James, 16, Aveline, 13, and Vidalia, 12, came running from the house when they heard the noise. "Mom, what's going on?" Aveline called out, but stopped when she saw the 4th calf in her father's arms. "Kids, listen carefully," Aaron said, taking control of the situation. "James, call Dr. Peterson and tell him we have an animal emergency. Aveline, get every heating pad in the house. Vidalia, start boiling water and get milk bottles ready. Move." The next several hours became a desperate battle for life. Dr. Peterson arrived within an hour, his truck sliding on the icy roads. "In 30 years of work," he said, examining each calf carefully, "I have never seen 4 living calves from one birth." The smallest calf, the 4th one, was too cold and having trouble breathing. "We might lose this one, Doctor," Peterson warned seriously. "Her body temperature is dangerously low." "No," Mark said strongly. "We are not losing any of them." They named the cow Somebody because she had become somebody truly special. The calves were harder to name. They looked so much alike that the children decided to use colored markers to tell them apart, leading to the names Orangala, Greenelope, Bluethany, and Nobody. The first week became a blur of feeding every 2 hours and constant watching. Mark and Aaron took turns around the clock, never leaving the calves alone. Nobody, the smallest, needed the most care, but proved to be a fighter with incredible strength. News spread through their rural community. Neighbors showed up with supplies and offers to help. "The whole county is cheering for these little ones," said neighbor Tom Henderson, bringing milk replacer. By day 3, news crews arrived. By day 5, the story went worldwide. Their quiet ranch became a destination for visitors, veterinary students, and reporters from around the world. "The Saskatchewan Miracle," headlines read. 1 in 11.2 million, birth beats all odds. The turning point came on day 12, but first, they had to survive the night that almost ended everything. It was 2:17 a.m. on April 20th when Mark's world fell apart. He was doing his scheduled check on the calves, moving quietly through the heated barn with only a flashlight to see. The wind outside was still howling from the storm, shaking the barn doors and making the whole building creak loudly. 3 of the calves were huddled together under the heat lamps, their small bodies moving up and down with steady breathing. But Nobody, the smallest one, the fighter, was lying still on her side. "No, no, no," Mark whispered, dropping to his knees beside her. He put his ear to her tiny chest and felt his heart stop. Nothing, no heartbeat, no breath. "Aaron!" he screamed, his voice echoing through the barn and cutting through the storm. "Aaron, get out here now!" Without thinking, Mark picked up the lifeless calf and began pushing on her tiny chest, just like he'd seen Dr. Peterson do with newborns. Push, 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 breathe into her nose, push, push, push. Her body was cold, too cold, and completely limp. Aaron came running in her nightgown and bare feet, slipping on the icy ground. "What's happening?" she gasped, but seeing Mark doing CPR on Nobody told her everything. "Is she?" "I don't know," Mark said through clenched teeth, never stopping the chest pushes. "She's not breathing. Her heart stopped." He tilted the calf's head back and breathed into her nose again, watching desperately for any sign of life. "Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. How much time has passed? Aaron asked, getting towels and heat pads ready. I'm not sure. Maybe 10 minutes. Could be longer. Mark's voice was cracking. I should have looked earlier. I should have. Don't do that, Aaron said strongly. Just keep working. Don't quit. For 20 painful minutes, Mark tried to save nobody's still body. Chest pushes, mouth-to-mouth breathing. Warming her up, chest pushes again. His hands were trembling from being tired and scared. Aaron pointed heat lamps right at the baby cow while tears ran down her cheeks. Mark, she said quietly at last, maybe we should... No, he yelled. She's not quitting, and I won't either. That's when it occurred. A small, barely noticeable breath. Then one more. Nobody's eyes started to open, and she made the softest sound either of them had ever heard. She's alive, Mark cried, falling down next to the little calf. She's alive. But their happiness didn't last long. Nobody's breathing was hard and uneven, her body temperature way too cold even after all their work. We need Dr. Peterson, Aaron said, already getting her phone. She needs oxygen. She needs more help than we can give. It's 3 a.m. in a snowstorm, Mark said desperately. He'll never get out here in this storm. Then we bring her to him, Aaron said with strong determination. What came next was the scariest drive of their lives. With nobody wrapped in warm blankets and lying on Mark's lap in the front seat, Aaron drove their truck through thick snow and slippery roads. The calf's breathing was so light you could barely tell, and twice during the 30-minute trip, Mark thought they had lost her again. Don't leave us, little one, he said again and again, rubbing her chest and keeping her warm. You're the tough one. You don't quit, we don't quit. Dr. Peterson met them at his emergency animal hospital, having driven through the storm himself after getting Aaron's panicked phone call. Very bad cold exposure and not enough oxygen, he said right away, connecting nobody to a small oxygen tank. A few more minutes, and we would have lost her for good. They stayed the next 4 hours at the clinic, taking turns holding nobody under heat lamps, while Dr. Peterson watched her body's signs. Slowly, painfully, her breathing got more steady. Her body heat slowly got back to normal. Her eyes started to see clearly and follow things moving. She's going to live, Dr. Peterson finally said at sunrise. But this was as close as you can get. 5 more minutes and her brain would have been hurt forever from no oxygen. By the time they got back to the ranch, the other 3 calves were crying loudly for their missing sister. When they put nobody back in the barn, still weak but breathing well, the reunion was nothing less than amazing. The 3 sisters right away came around her, touching and guarding her like they knew exactly what she had gone through. That's when I realized, Mark said later, watching the 4 calves close together. That's when I realized they were all going to make it through this. They're not just sisters, they're a group, and groups don't abandon anyone. The scary time of that first night connected the Van Hastert family to those 4 calves in a way that was much more than normal farming. They had battled death together and won. From that time on, nobody, not any of them, was just farm animals. They were family. But making it through the first night was just the start. The next week became a mess of checking temperatures every 2 hours and desperate bottle feedings. Somebody wasn't treating all her babies the same. She pushed Bluthany and nobody away while liking the 2 stronger calves better. Normal, low, very low, became Aaron's repeated words during temperature checks. Mark worked the midnight to 6 a.m. time, Aaron worked 6 a.m. to noon, and they switched off through pure determination and coffee. By the third day, Orangala had become the mean one, pushing her smaller sisters away from their mother's milk. "We're losing them," Aaron said quietly during one midnight check when Bluthany barely moved when touched. Not sleeping made them angry at each other over temperature readings and feeding times. Day 4 almost destroyed them when nobody's temperature got so low the thermometer almost couldn't read it. "That's enough," Mark said, empty from being so tired. "We can't keep doing this." But nobody raised her tiny head and looked straight at him, her eyes clear and strong. The good change came on day 5 when Greenalope put herself between nobody and the mean Orangala, protecting her smallest sister. "They're learning to help each other," Aaron said with wonder. Temperature readings finally got steady. Normal, a little low, but steady. By day 7, the calves had figured out their own order and feeding routine. The hardest part was over. They had not just lived, but become a real family, complete with friendships and a bond that couldn't be broken. When she got there, she found the 4 calves playing together in the straw, their fur shiny and thick, their eyes bright with health. Somebody watched proudly from her pen, having somehow learned to accept and care for all 4 daughters with help from extra feeding. Dr. Peterson's last visit happened at 6 weeks. "I'm writing about this case for the Animal Doctor magazines," he said. "This survival rate goes against every number pattern we have." All 4 calves had not just lived, but grown strong, each becoming her own special personality despite looking exactly alike. Farm researchers studied the genetic reasons behind the never-before-seen birth. Television crews filmed the famous 4 babies' growth every week. When spring came, somebody proudly led her 4 daughters into the field. The other cows seemed confused at first by 4 identical calves, but quickly accepted them. "You know what the greatest part is?" Aaron said, watching the calves play in green grass. "We both lost that bet about the fence, but we got something so much more valuable." Mark nodded, putting his arm around his wife. "One grumpy cow with no name became somebody who changed our lives forever." The story spread around the world, bringing visitors from 6 continents to their Saskatchewan ranch. They became symbols of hope in farming communities everywhere. But for Mark and Aaron, they stayed what they had always been, a miracle that started with a snowstorm and a bet about fixing fence, and ended with proof that sometimes the impossible becomes wonderfully, beautifully real. Did you like this story? If you stumbled upon that little calf struggling to breathe in the middle of the night, would you have kept trying CPR for 20 minutes? Or would you have stopped earlier? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. When it counts, never give up. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Wishing you a wonderful day.